Now, the person I chose is Alexander Zinchenko because he changed drastically entirely the way we play, right? He was key in transforming, and I haven't even talked about my man, Thomas Partey. What he did in the first part of the season made football so easy for his teammates, made everything so sweet to watch.
Transit TV, welcome back to Reggie Football Show with my main man, Ugum. This one has been long coming. We apologize. It should have come since last week, but you always knew, as we've always told you on this station, that we're going to do, on this channel, we're going to do this episode to look in depthly into Arsenal just concluded season and give our opinion on how the season panned out. Looking at ARTETA, obviously, is a very, very, very important personality in the season. The players, the fans, the stadium, the culture, the new air in the club as we speak, everything surrounding Arsenal season that just passed, whether it was good or bad, success or not, progress made or still where we were last season. So we're going to take the next few moments to look at how the season started, how it panned out, how it ended, our expectations before the end of before the season started, the noises that were made throughout the season with regards to Arsenal performance, whether they could sustain the progress that we saw, and all that. Then at the end, we're also going to rate the players, especially our usual suspect, usual starting 11 all through the season, because we can see, we all know that Arsenal are probably, I think we are the least changed lineup in the division this season. So we are here today to look at all this with my man Ugum. Before we move further, you know the drift. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. We've seen the subscription has gone up. We highly appreciate those who have subscribed. Our views are also up there, but it's not nowhere. The subscriptions are not close to the views we've been getting. So we'll appeal to you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Like and share this video. And you know, when you subscribe, it also keeps you up to date with what's going on in our channel. Like we have promised, this summer is going to be very busy. We're going to have a lot of contents for our subscribers, starting from transfer rumors to the off-season games that's going to be held in America. We have 3 games for Arsenal. We'll also be, serving content for other fans like United, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Chelsea as they come. So subscribe to our channel and stay tuned and look forward to the content dropping in the next few days and the coming months, and ultimately the next season coming up. Ugu, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Reggie. It's a pleasure to be back. We've had fun so far discussing so many things around the game that we love. And today we're going to discuss the team, our club, number one club that we love. And so I look forward to a very robust and interesting discussion around the Arsenal.
Yes. We'll start off with, I'll ask you, going into the season, after the transfers and the season started, what was your expectation? What was your reasonable expectation for Arsenal going into the season? What was your goal that you personally set for the team based on what we had in terms of players that came in and the ones that were here before, and what we have done in the few seasons past? What was your reasonable expectation or goal or target for the team going into the season?
Thank you. Very interesting question. I struggle. I mean, at the beginning of the season, I had very low expectations, to be honest. My desire for the team was a top 6 finish, something better than what we had last year, which was 8th position. I felt we needed to get back into Europe. Maybe we had played the Europa League. I felt we needed to try and get into the top 4. I was hopeful of a top four finish. But realistically, I was like, okay, as long as we make some progress from the eighth position, I would be happy. But considering the players that Arsenal bought, the likes of Zinchenko, the likes of Jesus, it got me excited. But I knew from day one that Jesus wasn't a very prolific goal scorer. But I expected our team to improve. But to be honest, I did not expect what finally happened, what later happened as the season developed. So my expectations were pretty low, but they were reasonable for the team.
Yeah, for me, I know I've said it before on this channel, going to Florida to watch the team in the preseason game, especially the one against Chelsea. My expectation for the team for the last season was higher. In my mind, and for me, top four was either make or bust. There was no way we shouldn't get top four for two reasons. For what I saw on the pitch, the way I saw the players play Chelsea, because regardless whether it's a preseason game or competitive game, any game against Chelsea is a big game for Arsenal. Same it is for Chelsea. When two teams meet, no matter what happens, it's a game of pride. So when I saw how the team performed against Chelsea, I remember you and I spoke about it. I told you that this team is good and is ready. The only thing that, of course, we all knew that we didn't have the depth to probably go the long haul, but I could see that we could make top four. Then secondly, we cannot continue to say, yeah, we don't have the players, we don't have the depth, we don't have the squad to do this, to do that. So based on that, I was not going to accept anything less than top four. Then secondly, we were playing Europa. I also believe that we had what it would take to win Europa. So I was expecting a top four finish for sure and a cup, either Europa or FA Cup. I know ARTETA doesn't really, let me not say ARTETA, Arsenal as a club, we don't really take the Carabao Cup very seriously. So I wasn't expecting anything special to happen in that competition. So, but for me, it was top four has to be achieved. Then go as far as we can in Europa and probably win Europa. That was, for me, what I was expecting. But we all know how it all ended. And so we started the season, of course, the first game was against Crystal Palace, and it was away. We know how difficult it is to go over there, and nobody called it for Arsenal, in favor of Arsenal. It was either probably, if you get a draw, it was going to be a good result. And we went there, we won Crystal Palace 2-0. And so
that was a victory that I really enjoyed. Just to add a little my take to that game, I was very fearful. I was fearful of Crystal Palace because we always stumble against them. I was also fearful of starting and losing the first game against Crystal Palace. I knew they were going to put a lot of pressure on Mikel Arteta, with many fans calling for his sack over the summer. And so we needed to really start well. So it was a really morale boosting victory against Crystal Palace that set the tone for the team.
yeah, I agree with you. Having said that, so let me ask you, after 10 games into the season, did your goal or expectation of the team change based on what you said earlier?
No, it still didn't change. It didn't change because I'm naturally kind of fearful. You know, I I have certain inhibitions mentally when it comes to Arsenal. I'm scared of I get scared of getting my hopes up high because I'm scared of the hopes being crushed at some point, right? So I dared not to dream. I just was like, okay, this is good. I like what I'm seeing. but I hope it's sustainable. So I was hoping they'll be able to sustain the run. I felt that the best way to do well was to keep, their feet on the floor, on the ground, so to speak, and be realistic about where they are and what they're trying to achieve. But I saw a team in good form with momentum, fighting, especially Gabriel Jesus. It was clear within the first 10 games what the man brought to the team in terms of consistent fighting, working hard, trying to be the best that he could be. So yeah, that's what I noticed and I really enjoyed.
Yeah, for me, after the first 10 games, Arsenal being where they were, uh, I didn't change my target for the team for the season, but I became more resolute, more convinced, and more expectant of my goal for the season to top four being guaranteed and winning the Europa League. Maybe I gave it a 80-20 chance to win. Then, and this was supported by having seen how the other top teams too were fighting at that stage. Because I've watched this league long enough to understand that after 10 games, yes, you cannot say who is going to win the league, but it's very, very important to stay in touch with whoever that is leading
The leader
at that time. Once you lose that touch, probably 6 points, 8 points, all of a sudden, out of 30 points, you've already dropped 10 after 10 games. It's always going to be difficult to stay in touch with the leadership of the championship. So when I saw the way Arsenal was going and how close we were up there, I kind of became more confident I was going to make top four and probably win a trophy for this season. So that was what, how I felt. I didn't change my goal. I didn't change my target for the season, but I was more confident that we're going to achieve the goals or the things I was expecting us to achieve for the season. Another thing I want us to look at is the noise. As the season progressed, the noise became bigger. Those who were saying Arsenal was the real deal, Arsenal was going to win the league, and those who kept saying, no way, they're not going to, Arsenal, they're going to fall off as the season progressed. Do you think that had any impact on the team? The noise outside the team?
From the way they were playing, I don't think it did because I saw a team that was really focused. The second part of the season, when I heard the statistic that Arsenal got 43 points out of 48 in the first 16 games or so, it was unbelievable. The form was crazy. Imagine picking up 43 out of 48 points, dropping only 5 points, right? In the first part of the season, 16 games. That was unprecedented, right? So that showed me so a team with that record, you cannot accuse them of being affected by the noise out there. I think they were really closed up. Before the World Cup, that team had laser focus on winning games, winning one game after the other. They were so focused. I think the World Cup really disrupted a lot of things. And we can see what happened after the World Cup. But before the World Cup, the team was really, really focused on the task at hand. I saw that they decided, I hadn't seen Arsenal dominate so much, win so many games. And so it was new to me for a while because it's been a while that you were going into a game confident that Arsenal was going to win the game because of the way they were playing, defensively, offensively, in the midfield. One person that really inspired a lot of confidence in me was William Saliba. William Saliba, of course, we know Gabriel and what he had to offer. Saliba, this was his first season playing for Arsenal after being on loan out, and he was impeccable. He embodied apart from what we were doing offensively with the new pattern and new formation and all that, Saliba was incredible and was very, very, very instrumental in what we were able to achieve in the first part of the season.
Yes, I quite agree with you. Watching the team after 10 games, the noises that were around social media, pundits, people were saying all sorts. Some people were saying Arsenal was going to win the league. Some people said they're going to fall off based on the record that they had before and all that. But I could see that it was like a circuit. The team was together. They looked focused. They looked at a team that had a plan going into any game, that couldn't wait to execute the plan, get the result, and get away. When they granted interviews after games, both the manager, the players, they were all speaking the same language. You could see that they were focused, they were together, they were not distracted. There was no over-bloated idea or focus for the team. All the talk about winning the title and not winning the title, they were not interested in all that. It was just about getting 3 points. And this was consistent week in, week out. So I don't in any way, I agree with you. I don't in any way believe that the noises, was at least up until before the World Cup. And even after the World Cup, the team looked very focused, looked realistic in their goal and their target. And you could see that the target was as well to make top 4. It was all about getting into Champions League. And then we'll go from there. So I agree with you, completely on that one. The team was focused. The noise did not affect them. And they kept growing, from strength to strength. There is one very, this one is funny, but it became a huge topic out there about Arsenal and their season. And this has to do with a pundit, Gary Neville. At some point, Arsenal season was all about what did Neville say this weekend. And credit to him, he remained consistent in what his reasons were for not trusting Arsenal.
Yeah.
He talked about emotion. That was the first day I heard him talk about emotion. I can't remember, what's he talking about? He talked about the squad, Arsenal not having the squad to compete with Manchester City. And he also talked about the experience, the gap in experience between Arsenal players and Manchester City. Or, of course, as well, between Pep Guardiola and ARTETA. He was very resolute in his conviction, and he continued to say that. And credit to him, most of the time, he gave Arsenal credit for their performance. He gave Arsenal credit for the good job they are doing. But he continued to insist that at some point, they're going to fall off. So 2 ways I want to look into this. At the time he was saying this, at the time Arsenal was flying, at the time Arsenal was picking 3 points week in, week out, and Gary Neville was saying this, what were you thinking? What was your reaction to his opinions? And at the end of the season, looking back now, how do you react to those comments as well?
I'm probably the wrong person to ask about Gary Neville. Yeah, because I hold my hands up. I don't like the dude. There are a few guys that I don't like, and I'll reluctantly give them some credit in some ways for what they do, but inherently, personally, I do not like I do not like the approach to stuff and the way always feel that they have reasons. One is Jose Mourinho, but let me leave Mourinho. Today, we're not talking about Mourinho, talking about Gary Neville. I think the guy is just an entitled, very poor footballer, which people can argue. United fans have argued with United fans about Gary Neville. When I started watching the Premier League, he was one of the players that after watching, I wondered why my dad discouraged me from playing professional football. If I was like, if this dude can play in the Premier League, then anybody can play in the Premier League. Because he was a useless footballer, you know. So so for him now to become the darling of the crown prince of the British press with all his the nonsense that he talks, I don't take him seriously. You know, so that's the approach that I took when he started saying all those things. I felt that okay, this guy is trying to be relevant. He's a United fan. He's a United former player. It will be hard for him to be complimentary to us now. And considering the kind of intense rivalry we had when he was playing for United. But beyond all that, he had some valid points. The talk about experience was very valid. The talk about squad depth was very valid. The talk about emotions was stupid and petty and completely unwarranted. And frankly, I felt it was just being sensational, as he's prone to be every now and then. Talking about Zinchenko celebrating with fans, being the reason for Arsenal later falling and all that. But yeah, so he had, to be honest, fair to him, fair play. He had some valid points, which um, with the way he transmitted those points, I felt it was too dramatic. It was all, you know, meant to circulate in the news and generate a reaction from Arsenal fans, and Arsenal fans being who they are heavy on social media, heavy on print media, you know, heavy, easily wound up to react, and that would generate money by views, by clicks, by posts, by everything. So I felt that most of the things he did, and I will give credit to Gary Neville. He is good at trying to draw some reaction from people, and that's part of his job. That's part of how he makes his money. So fair play to him, you know. So yeah, at the end of the season, regrettably, I think one of the most painful things for me was Gary Neville being proven right that Arsenal wasn't going to win the league. But the reasons he proposed or adduced, I myself knew we had those issues, we had those challenges. You knew we had those challenges. So it wasn't because of Gary Neville saying it that you know we didn't know. We didn't. All of us knew it, but because it was Gary Neville that said it, you know, it appeared that he was predicting something that was no. So yeah, let me not speak too much about it. Yeah, that's what I wasn't happy with him. I avoided everything that had to do with Gary Neville. You know, any of his shows on YouTube, I don't tune into it. I read every now and then what he says. If I see a headline about Gary Neville, I skip it. You know, that's the way that I approach anything about him. He's just an opportunist. And so if I see balanced people, I listen to balanced people. I see people that are trying to draw a reaction or being unnecessarily partisan. Somebody I used to respect a lot is Rio Ferdinand. Rio Ferdinand has become more and more United centric in the way he says things in the press. And so and I wouldn't take those people seriously as far as I'm concerned. So what's your take?
Yes, for me, just like you, in the beginning, when you were saying that, like you rightly said, it's okay for you to make those assessments, make those judgments. It's okay for you to say, but he was being dramatic the way he was going about it. And at that moment, also overlooking certain strong ingredients and attributes the team was exhibiting at that moment. He refused to acknowledge them and kept hammering on what he was saying. So at that time too, it was irritating to me. I didn't like those comments because most time when they ask me about Arsenal, it doesn't really go answering the question. He tried to move it to this point. They are going to fall off. He refused to recognize what was going on at the time, but always found a way to shift the question or the topic or whatever to the end of the season as I was going to fall off. So that was my own irritation at that moment. I wasn't finding it funny with the way he was going about it and what he was saying. Everybody could see that this team is the real deal, that this team is not what they used to be. There is something new about this team. There's something special about this team. And this was what, like you said, most balanced pundits, we are saying there is, we know, we're not saying they're going to win this league, but there's something about this team that is different from the Arsenal we've been watching years gone by. So
why don't you just acknowledge that?
He refused to stay on that, but he kept talking about the end of the season. So that was my own irritation. Then another problem I had with his comments back then was, yes, the team doesn't have the experience. We know. Yes, ARTETA doesn't have the experience. We know. But there's always a first time to experience. If you haven't won the league before, there's going to be one day that you will win it. And until you win it, you don't have the experience of winning it. So does it mean that it's only those that have won before that will keep winning? There's always going to be a one time. There's going to be that first time. Then you build on it. It's difficult. Sometimes it's almost impossible. But at some point, you achieve it. So my problem is, why are you not giving the team that benefit of the doubt that this could be that first time they're going to achieve it, then go from there? I'm not telling you to say that Arsenal was going to win the league, but just say that it's possible. Just leave it there. Let's see how it's going to go. But he kept every week, he drew that question to himself and also attached response to other questions to just that. So I was irritated at that time. I could see what he said, like you said, but the way he was going about it was very dramatic, like you said. By the end of the season, of course, obviously, we also know that the way the season ended was possible. To be honest, for me, for a very large part of the season, all I was saying is achieve top four. I didn't want Arsenal to do all that and still miss out on top four. So every week, all I was checking was, what's the point gap between Arsenal and Liverpool? Arsenal and even though even as they were struggling. You remember, I used to still tell you that until mathematically Liverpool cannot go above Arsenal. I'm not going to relax until
that's right.
Man United is where I can say no. They're not going to be able to do it until Chelsea. It gets to a point in the season where I can say these three teams, as bad as they were doing, it's all going to be an uphill task for them to overturn us now and miss out on top four. I was never relaxed. So it was always about top four for me. But as the season progressed, I never really felt that we were going to win the league. But of course, at some point, you have to start believing, you have to start dreaming. So that was it for me. So when the season ended, at the end of the way it ended, of course, all of us were disappointed. Gary Neville, so to say, looked like, and to be fair to him, I don't know if he was just acting up. When it eventually happened, he even looked like he was kneeling more on being what I was called let's say sympathetic or supporting or praising Arsenal for what they have to do. I don't know if that was hypocritical or it was just being real. And like earlier said, it didn't matter to me. And I really felt bad that if at the end of the day, what he predicted came to pass. So that wasn't much important to me. I was most disappointed that we didn't manage to win the league, so to say. Though it was obvious that was going to be a possibility because we didn't have the squad, we didn't have the experience, and ARTETA was doing what he can with what he had. January came, they tried to strengthen, but we didn't really get what we wanted. And well, historically, we know that January is always a very difficult time to add real quality to your team. So it wasn't really, like you mentioned earlier on, the World Cup didn't do us justice, especially for the injury to Gabriel Jesus. He doesn't score a lot of goals, but his presence and his contribution, what other things he does on the pitch helped us a lot in that first part. So, and again, I also knew that where we were at the break or by Christmas was not real, because we hadn't played two of our first half game. We hadn't played City. So for me, in my mind, those 3 points we didn't have them. Though I expected the team to do better based on what we did the season before against City. I thought we were going to probably at least get a draw at home. We all know what happened in that game. The first half mistake by Tomiyasu, and everything blew into the wind. So I knew that we are not, our position at the middle of the first half of the season wasn't for real. So I wasn't really very confident of our position or what we had achieved, but I could recognize it. Okay, let's move on. We move to ARTETA. This young man is at the center of everything Arsenal right now. Many out there want him out. Numerous out there are ARTETA in. He has divided opinion among Arsenal fans because of the singular fact that he was inexperienced when he was appointed. So some people just refused to give him a chance, and they still have refused till now. I heard somebody, I think Ligona, say something the other day, and I was like, do people really think before they talk? He was ready for Diego Simone, that he only finished 5 points or 9 points behind Barcelona, that we should get to everyone else like that. I'm like, I thought I finished 5 points behind Pep Guardiola. So what if you're using that to evaluate things? Why is this one a problem? So sometimes you see people, it shows that people have agenda. They just can't, they just don't want this guy to be, so that what they say will be proven right. It doesn't have to be. So just make your opinion. Have valid points or reasons. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. Like what we are doing here now is giving our own opinion. It might not be right, it might not be wrong, but just say it sincerely. Just be open-minded. If it comes to pass, well for you. But if you're wrong, you raise your hands and say, hey, I was wrong, and we move on. No hard feelings. If Arsenal wins or loses, we don't get paid for it. So why do people just get stuck with their agenda on somebody or on a team or on a coach? So I think that there are a few things that making rounds, people blaming him for what happened with Arsenal this season. We didn't win the league, but because of him. And most of the issues that people are raising against him is his lack of experience. Some said errors in-game management, substitutions, and stuff like that. Some people talked about, then again, ARTETA as well, for me, how do you rate his control and impact in Arsenal as a club and the team in particular? What do you, in this regard, like I said, his experience, do you think that his experience was an issue in the way we eventually ended the season? How do you rate his in-game management skills or ability? And lastly, on ARTETA, his control, what do you think is his impact or control in Arsenal as a club and the team in particular? Could we have done better with another manager, probably more experienced manager, or do you think we're in the right path with ARTETA?
I'll give you a short answer to that question first, and then I'll give a longer answer. Short answer is, we could only have done better with a more experienced Arteta. That's my short answer. We could only have done better with a more experienced Arteta. And apart from a more experienced Arteta, I'll probably only take Pep rather than, I will not take Klopp. Credit to Klopp. I respect the man. He's an amazing, incredible coach. But I would not trade. The only person I would trade for a more experienced Arteta is Pep. I would take Pep first. I would take a more experienced Arteta this season second before any other coach. So I think his inexperience cost us. It wasn't the only reason. It was one of the contributing factors to us faltering. But it was more of the minor factor than a major factor. Um, it cost us in ways where I saw in certain situations where he didn't manage his squad very well. Right, in the sense that there were people sitting on the bench that needed time on the field. Right, it's a slippery slope. There's a thin line between using your squad and relegating certain players to the background because they are not delivering, right? But the credit I give to him is that even when that is happening, I see that he still communicates with those players that he's not using. You don't see them agitating in the press to leave. You don't see them making negative noises. You see them there being present
and cheering
and cheering and supporting. So that says a lot. But Emil Smith Rowe needed to play a bit more. You know, instead of playing, giving Fabio Vieira some bit of rest, he kept playing him over and over and again. And I guess because he brought him to the club. It was his first season. You know, I felt that he needed to share some of those Vieira minutes with Smith Rowe to give Smith Rowe more opportunities to recover and regain his confidence. So squad management and some substitutions were a problem for him in certain situations. And of course, there is no substitute for experience. That's one thing that I've realized in life. If you haven't been there, right, you will not know. I mean, if Arsenal had won this season, oh my goodness, I had a specific kind of celebration planned that I had to table. Oh man, it would have been nothing short of a miracle for that team to have won the league. Honestly, um, because of the lack of experience and lack of depth, you had just about 16 players, not even up to 16, about 15 players or so, play the whole season, performing at the highest level, game after game, adversity after adversity. You know, and they, you know, they travel, they were so good in being able to achieve the goals that they've set for themselves. So yeah, I I felt that our inexperience cost us when the chips were down, when it was so hard, you had to step up to win games, even when you were not playing well. We struggled at those instances. Our coaching crew struggled at those instances, and then injuries came in as well and really affected us. And so I knew that we needed to navigate that inexperienced slope. Now, you know, the team showed us after last season, after the season before this last one, the disappointment against Newcastle and all that, they had fire in their bellies in the 22-23 season. Now, the disappointment of losing this season, I believe, is what's going to drive this team to unprecedented heights moving forward. That's my belief. Because I've seen players that have learned and gotten better from experience, both the players and the coach. And so I would not trade Mikel Arteta, honestly, because of certain qualities that I've seen. I think we locked out with Arteta. I don't know how we stumbled on this brilliant guy as a coach. I don't know how Arsenal managed to get this guy. What drew them to give him this job? Um, but whoever made that decision, I would give the person a handshake today and tomorrow and buy the person a drink. Because I think we've locked in. This guy is going to win trophies for Arsenal moving forward.
Yeah, for me on that, I will start by saying, I don't know if I will call it the social media noise, or that these days everybody is a journalist, everybody has an opinion. This has tended to kind of make almost everybody have short memory.
Yeah.
Why do I say that? Arsenal fans, the football world has forgotten the goalie Arsenal was or have been in the last 10, 15 years. People just all of a sudden, because we saw a glimpse of light that this guy brought, people all of a sudden forgot the decadence that the team, the club as a whole has had in the last decade. And that's where I'm going to start from, talking about Arteta. When this dude showed up, I used to talk about it in the past. Most of his press conferences, he wasn't even talking about tactics, football, winning games. He was talking about attitude issues, culture, getting the fans on board, unifying the club, doing things around the training ground and around the stadium to get everybody on board, trying to sell a project to the fans, to people who we are, aligned with Arsenal. And these are the qualities of a visionary leader. Somebody that sees what other people do not see.
Yeah.
For me, Arteta is not or wasn't just a coach for Arsenal. He was a transformational leader that Arsenal transformed the club from toxicity to a whole new level. And on that grounds, on that aspect, I give him 100%. This guy has all of a sudden made Arsenal a team everybody is now trying to beat. Made Arsenal a club that now sells out even preseason games. Like I told you, I went to Florida last year. Arsenal against Chelsea, you could have seen the stadium. You and I know how many 3 months into the season, you cannot even get an Arsenal jersey in any shop. In any shop that sells authentic Arsenal. It's been sold out for the past 6 months. I've been trying to buy a few for family, but I can't even get it to order. You know that as well. Almost every Arsenal accessory on the shop is gone. And the reason is because this guy has come in, transformed the club, and raised the value. So people tend to forget that or take it for granted. There are not so many teams. Man U is struggling with that till now. They are all just trying to quote what the Hag has done. I give him credit, but it's nowhere close to Arsenal, what Arteta has done for Arsenal. I know people will say it's just his first season. I understand that. What he has done probably is impactful on the field. But off the field, there's nothing happening. Arteta really gave Arsenal a boost in that aspect. Then going to experience, obviously, that was an issue. You could see there are sometimes some crucial moments that he wasn't really sure which way to go. Should I go all in, or you could see it. And like you said, experience is the word experience means experience. That means you have lived that situation before. So when he comes up again, you know how to navigate it. So he hadn't lived this situation before, so he doesn't have the experience. He's going to be a fool that will say, no, it's not an issue. Of course it was an issue, but that doesn't mean he cannot win. Like I said earlier on, there's always a first time. And that first time comes with inexperience.
Yeah.
Then when you now win, it becomes an experience. It helps you to win more. Experience helps you to win more, not to win the first one. Because until you win it, you don't have that experience. I don't know why people keep using it as a point to argue against anything, because there's always going to be a first time.
It is what it is. We've seen it over and over. Why do teams that win tend to win over and over and over? It happens. At grassroots level, Houston Grenagers, I know the people in Houston that are not Houston Grenagers players and do not like Houston Grenagers would probably not like to hear this, right? But if you've won something, there's something that happens in your head and in your senses that gives you an edge when the opportunity arises again to compete for that same thing that you've won before. Something gives you an edge to win again.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. Sorry to cut you short there. I think what it is for those that have won, you might not be arrogant, but you're confident because you know that if you do this, it will give you this. But for those that have not won, what they have done in the past has not won them that trophy or that tournament. So they are unsure if to keep doing what they did in the past or try to change it. And the change is what you have not tried before. So you're also unsure. Going to what you said, the last just completed Texas challenge. In the finals, I know it's my friend, he's going to watch this episode. But next time he sees me, he's going to fight me. He's the coach of Invincible Eagles, right? Before the game, I saw him standing and he was gazing. So I came to him, I tapped him, I said, hey, bro, why are you too much in your thoughts? Just take it, relax. Relax, it's just a game, it's 90 minutes. So that supports what you were saying. For me, we have won it before, we've been at that level so many times. It was just about going and doing it again. I knew what we needed to do. I knew what to say to the boys. I understand. I know the players that had the mentality at that stage to go and do the job. But for somebody that hasn't done it before, you might be sure of yourself, might be sure of the tactics, might be sure of your game plan, but you're not sure of the 11 men extended the pitch if they have the right mentality to do it. And until they do it and it works, they're going to be mentally strong. So I think he goes for and also against ARTETA. So his experience was an issue, but in terms of controls, in terms of impact of the young man, both on the team and the club, in terms of the culture he has built, I give him thumbs up. Yeah, errors. As a Wenger used to say it, Pep Guardiola still says it till tomorrow. He can say what you want to say about the coach. At the end of the day, it's the players. Football is a game, according to Wenger, that a player makes hundreds of decisions over the course of 90 minutes. And where you're standing as a coach, you do not have any direct impact on those decisions. Once you have done your job and see them on the pitch, you're only hoping that they make decisions based on what you have talked about. And there's a saying that there are no two same situations in a game. They all and that's the thing about football. These situations, these decisions are never the same. They are never the same scenario. So for the large part, you're depending on the players to make the right decision at supporting situations. For instance, when we played at Anfield, 2-1 up against Liverpool, we were on the ropes. Eventually, we know what Trent did to Zenit, and they equalized. People said it was very obvious that you need to substitute Zenit for Tierney.
Yeah.
Right? That he should have taken him off and we would have won the game. I also know about a game that we play. I can't remember who we were playing against. We were in the same situation. He left Zini on the pitch. He got us a goal. We are 3-1 up before he was taken out. Then we defended our lead. So on one side, you can look at it as his errors. For me, I don't see them as error. Probably he have made a different decision. Probably should have made a different decision. But it's not, because sometimes those decisions that he made worked. But when they did not work, people say it was error. So if that's the word, okay, yeah, I will agree that, okay, maybe he made errors. But for me, there are certain situations that he would have made different decisions. But sometimes, just like Pep says, and he said it again this week when he was being interviewed about 2021 against Chelsea, he said he did not make an error. He just made a decision. It did not work. In other games, it works. In other games, it worked. In that situation, maybe Chelsea were smarter and it worked against him. So that if he says an error, that's well, he will accept it. But for him, it wasn't an error. Because at that time, that was what he thought was the best situation thing to do. And it has worked in the past. So what happened was that it did not work this time, which is possible. So that's what I can say about that. Then that takes us to the collapse. So I know we have talked a little bit about it already. Is there anything in particular you want to equate the way Arsenal collapsed at the end of the season to, in particular? Looking at burnout, squad depth, or anything. What would you, specifically, or what would you say is it might not be one factor that caused us to lose the league, but what were the huge or the main factors that you think?
Injuries. That's where squad depth comes in. I think that those guys, after playing game after game after game, injuries set in. Those that were not injured got really tired. The likes of Bukayo Saka. Saka was marked by 2 men all season. Right? This young man did all he could. So someone that pleasantly surprised me was Gabriel Martinelli. Martinelli, there was a guy that I was so scared because of, I felt he was injury prone. The way he lasted through this season, scoring goals, playing well, maintaining his consistency, really impressed me. And I'm happy for him. He did really well. So squad depth was the main thing that affected the team. If William Saliba hadn't gotten injured and his backup, Tomiyasu, hadn't gotten injured as well, Arsenal would have finished, been able to win some of the games they ended up drawing. But I think that the team did not collapse. I don't think they collapsed. I think that they managed, they ended with a whimper. The intensity, the level of consistency wasn't there anymore because with each draw, morale went down a bit more. Morale kept going down with each result that wasn't taking them up the league. And so as human beings, these things happen. So that's what happened to them. People can say all they want to say about bottling and all that. I think that all that as banter. I know that my team did all they could, but of course they were not good enough because they were up against a juggernaut with different options, with players that once they stepped into the field, they knew what to do. Everybody played their roles very well. I'm talking about Manchester City, and then they lost to a better side.
Yeah, for me, like Raddy said, squad depth, then that led to burnout. Yeah. Then I don't care what anybody says. Like you said, the injury to Saliba was key. And it wasn't just Saliba. Saliba got injured at the same time that we lost Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu would have been the direct replacement for Saliba. He was injured as well. So we resorted to a third option in that position. And this was a very, very key position for Arsenal. The way Saliba played allowed Arsenal to play the way Arteta wanted us to play, compressing teams in their own half. And when you do this, it makes you makes it easier for you to score goals. It makes it easier for you to defend. And he also, Saliba helped Arsenal very much in build-up. So for me, like you said, squad depth was a very important issue. And having said that, people, when we talk about burnout or because the players are young, that's why they did not last long. No, that's not what I think is the problem. Like I tell people, if you watch Pep Guardiola, the way let me just say, since he's been in City, after the first 2-3 seasons, by the third season, fourth season, there's the way he built that team and the way he manages his team. Manchester City have managed to have players, a squad of 25 players, that the gap in their qualities is not huge. They're almost at the same level, almost all the players, minus maybe KDB, Haaland now in terms of scoring goals, players like Gundogan. Yeah, just a few of the players are up there. The rest are almost on the same, they have almost the same quality at every position. So what Pep does, what I have seen that he does is every 3 months, he does a swap. He will use a particular set of players for 3 months, week in, week out. We have seen games where Man City is struggling to score, and Pep will not make one single change for 90 minutes, both in Champions League and in the league. He will use the same players, especially on the wings. You will see him for 2-3 months, Reyes on the right, Foden on the left, every week. What he's doing is to give Grealish rest. What he's doing is to give Silva rest. What he's doing is to give whoever rest. After 3 months, all of a sudden, and what will be happening at this time, you will see the press, you will hear rumors, Mahrez wants to leave Man City. Man City, he's not getting playing time. Foden is complaining. They just be, working our tongues. 3 months after that, like this season, the beginning of this season, Reyes was not playing. After a while, Reyes played week in, week out. Reyes. He was playing week in, week out for another 3 months. Towards the end now, he's not been starting games. So Pep had the luxury of switching and swapping players at different times of the season. The only player I know this season that has played from beginning to the end in Manchester City is Haaland, even though at some point he had injury for a few weeks, he got some rest. Akanji is the only player, and probably Ederson. These are the 2 players that I saw every week play for Manchester City. At a point, Kawaka was out of the team. Laporte was away for 3-4 months. He wasn't playing. Diaz, the same thing. Ntanake probably would have played also. He got injured, so he wasn't there. So KDB, we know, lost his place for like 2-3 months. I didn't believe, yes, he could say he was struggling after the World Cup, but if Pep didn't have an option, he would still have been playing. But because he had option, he could swap the team. Now we're talking about Gundogan. For the last part of the season, he wasn't a regular in the team. So Man City and Pep have this luxury of doing this kind of swap. I don't think there's any player, I don't care how experienced you are, I don't care how good you are, that can play week in, week out for a whole season.
Yes.
At the same level. So what happened to us now is natural. Now you can say that I could have used the sport better. He mentioned Smith Rowe. Don't forget that this guy had a very huge surgery. His groin. As fans, what we see is 90 minutes every week or every game. We don't know what happens at the back end. We don't know how quickly he recovered. We don't know how this injury has plagued this young man for years in his career, his short career. So it was only important that the team managed him very well. So I don't know if I will say he wasn't given more money than he required, or he was being managed for a longer, for him to last longer, or manage the injury better, or manage the surgery. I don't know what what we can say on that because we are not privy to certain information that things that happen at the back end. So, having said that, we don't have the quality to use the squad the way Man City uses their squad. You could have said, yes, Luis Nelson came in, had some very huge moments for Arsenal this season. But does he have the quality to do it week in, week out? If you're not, and there's also a saying that you don't change a winning team. There are some games that Saka was quiet in the beginning for the whole of first half. Second half, all of a sudden he's scoring 2 goals. So are we not saying that ARTETA should have stopped Nathan Feder because he wasn't performing? Because the performers always find a way to contribute to the team. So if you're not sure of the quality you have on the bench, I don't think it would have been wise to be chucking and changing every week and still maintain that level of and I'm sure that there's going to be a reason why he does it because you see these guys in training. So I would say we're losing out. They are caused by 2 things largely. Like you said, the depth, which of course the injury exposed that.
Yeah.
Then the quality, of course, that is it still comes together. The quality we have on the bench meant that our squad depth wasn't good enough to sustain the title charge. And let's not forget that what we're talking about now is only because we were competing against a monster. We were competing against a perfectionist. We're competing against a coach that has done it year in, year out, who is also blessed with enormous pool of talent and quality.
Yes.
I don't think, look at this season, Ancelotti could not win any major trophy because the squad that he has is not what it used to be. Yes, the name is still Benzema, but the legs are no longer Benzema of 5 years ago. Yes, the name is still Luka Modric, but the legs are no longer the Modric of 5 years ago. Yes, the name is still Cruz, but that's not those are not the same legs. But Man City refreshes their squad every season. So I think for me, that's one of the reasons why we lost the league to Man City, not because we were not good enough. So so how do you rate Arsenal season as a team?
As a team, Arsenal season, I will rate an 8.5 out of 10, perhaps even 9 out of 10, because it was totally unexpected. They overcame a lot of obstacles to be able to finish runners up behind City by, I believe, was it 7 points, 5 points or so? I'm not sure.
5 points. 5 points.
5 points, yes.
89, 84.
Yeah. So these guys to have won, to have made 84 points was incredible. And I give them a lot of credit. They fought out at the last minute, but credit to them for staying up there and fighting. So I'll give them a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, if I was rating the team based on EPL alone, I would say 9 out of 10. But because we are involved in other competitions, Europe involved, like I said, my target for the team was make top 4, which they achieved, and achieving with a bonus and win a trophy. And when you say win a trophy, of course, it's not automatic. If we had made it to the finals of the Europa, I would have said, okay. If we had made it to the semi-finals of FA Cup, it would have been, okay, they pushed as hard as they can. But for the fact that we did not manage to make it to Europa League finals, we did not manage to push to the end of FA Cup, I would take points out of the team.
Okay. Fair enough.
I would have said 7, but I would say 8 because we did not sneak into top 4. We did not manage to make top 4. This team, from the first weekend of the season till the end, managed to make themselves big time or assured top 4 contenders. What we're talking about was they're going to win the league. It wasn't, there was never a time it was a huge concern that Arsenal will not make top 4. So because of that, I rate the season for 8 out of 10. Before we go to player ratings, I want you to give me 4 or 5 players you think. I know almost all the players that were actively involved in the season did a very good job, give account of themselves. But give me 4 or 5 players you would think that they really, really impacted the progress that the team made this season. And probably maybe 1 or 2 reasons why you choose them. You choose each of them.
Number 1 is Aaron Ramsdale. You know, the bedrock of every team, foundation of every team is a good goalkeeper. Goalkeeper that complements the qualities of the team and brings out the best in the team, as well as a goalkeeper that provides that defensive cover, inspires confidence in his defenders and the entire team. That was what Ramsdale did. Ramsdale used his legs and his reflexes and his character, strength of character, to elevate the game for the team. Second would be William Saliba, which we clearly saw when he got injured, how much we missed him. You know, honorable mention to his partner, that Gabriel, that was incredible throughout the season. But in terms of, you know, that value add that made the team exceptional, I would give William Saliba credit for that. Third player would be Granit Xhaka. I thought Granit Xhaka was, oh man, he was just invaluable in terms of what he brought to the team, leadership. You know, did Xhaka get a red card this season? I don't think he did.
No, not even 1. I think he had, even yellow was less than 4.
Unbelievable. I mean, how far this guy has come. This guy that was a target, you know, of referees, largely due to his own fault with the way he approached the game.
Yeah, sorry to cut you right there. One of my friends who is a Chelsea fan, if I was a bet man, I would have bet him. He said Xhaka was going to get, I don't know how many red cards this season. I told him he was going to, I saw the way he was going. I would have been probably won some good money by now.
Yes.
Yes.
Xhaka was incredible. Offered offensive trade. I'm sure he probably got near to 10 goals this season, if not more. But he did well, really well. He was another key player. Then I'll go to my captain. Consistent, incredible guy, Odegaard, playing in tight spaces, leading the pressing from the front, working incredibly hard with the way that he played and making all the difference up front. Now, my last key person is a toss-up between 3 players. But I'm going to choose one, and I'm going to tell you the reason why I chose him. These 3 players are Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli, and Alexander Zinchenko.
Yeah, I can choose 2 out of the 3.
Okay, yeah.
Not limiting you to the number. The key players you feel. If you can talk about 3 of them.
If I were to talk about key players, I'll talk about the Arsenal's first 11. I think everybody.
Yeah, I know, but
everybody brought value.
Who had better influence than others?
No, not necessarily. These ones I'm mentioning, you know, I can tell you the value that all the others brought.
I know.
For example,
but still.
For example, for Saliba that I chose, Gabriel brought everything that Saliba brought. The only reason I chose Saliba was for a rookie in the EPL to play at the level he played, with the consistency he played with, then I'll single him out. Not that he was better than Gabriel by any stretch of the imagination.
I disagree with you on that one.
Oh no, we can argue it to tomorrow, and I'm ready to argue it.
I disagree with you on that one. Anticipation is way better than Gabriel.
No, but defensive solidity is way better for
In
Gabriel
reading
than
the
him.
game. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So there are different
Uh-huh.
things, though.
So each person brought, yeah. So now I haven't even talked about Gabriel Jesus, who for the first part of the season, it just transformed our play. Now the person I chose is Alexander Zinchenko because he changed drastically entirely the way we play, right? He was key in transforming, and I haven't even talked about my man Thomas Partey. What he did in the first part of the season made football so easy for his teammates, made everything so sweet to watch. And so we had 11 key players through the season, but Zinchenko, mainly because of what he brought to the team, transforming our play, getting into positions where they never expected a left back to be at. There's a goal he scored against, I think it was Aston Villa to equalize. A shot he released from Saka's side of the field, right outside the box. That typified what Zinchenko brought to the team. And so yeah, I will pick this 5
Yeah,
ahead
for
of
me, I
the.
think it almost looked like we had a note and said, hey, pick these names. Yeah, I'll start with Ramsdale. I know he has always been, I've said this many times, I've told you this. I've talked about watching the team live play the preseason game against Chelsea. I was sat at the back of the post, even through the warm-ups. I remember calling you and telling you, bro, this guy Ramsdale is the real deal. Now people talk about, yeah, say if a goalkeeper makes saves. Ramsdale, we don't have to talk about that. He makes saves. He kept us in games because of some very ridiculous saves that he made. But one thing I found out the day I watched Arsenal was how good this guy is with his both feet. I'm not talking about just right foot. I'm saying left and right. I watched the team during their warm-ups. I saw Ramsdale tell the goalkeeper trainer when he was warming up for spreading long passes. He kept telling the guy, go. I was watching the goalkeeper trainer go past the half line. I kept telling him to go. And not just at the middle of the field, at the sides, both sides. They will give him the ball. He will use his left leg. He will pin a pass that far. Not with his hands, the ball on the floor. He will use his right leg. He will pin another one to the left. I was like, hold on a minute. Is this guy a goalkeeper or an outfield player? He did this time over and over. And I was watching. And that was mainly what I watched through the warm-ups. It was just Ramsdale. I was watching him. Then the one that the drop kicks. Man, I was like, what's going on here? So now, a normal, like a regular that doesn't really look deep into this game will say, he's a very good keeper. But Ramsdale, just like Zini, like you mentioned earlier on, redefined the way we are playing because teams, and if you heard Pep Guardiola talk about what I'm talking about, now he says it. One of the problems that he had against teams like Brighton is that he cannot press them because they had the ability. He had a goalkeeper that had the temperament and the ability to beat your press with a pass. So when you press them, you run the risk of exposing your back. And this is what Arsenal did so many times with Ramsdale. When teams press us, Ramsdale releases a long-range pass either to Gabriel Jesus in the middle, who drops back to come and pick those passes, or to the wings. And this, for me, gave us a lot of points. We won a lot of games through this ability, through this attribute of Ramsdale. So for me, I pick him. I pick Saliba. I've said that in our previous episodes. That young man, where do you want to start from? Is it his temperament? He doesn't show any emotion. This guy is focused on the job and he gets it done. Technically, you don't even want to rate him. You don't even know how to rate his technical ability on the ball. And that takes me back to what I was saying about Pep. I watched a video where I was talking about Brighton. He said Brighton players, they wait for you to move, then they pass. And that's the worst thing you can play against. A team that have the confidence and ability to wait for you to press, to run at them, then they release the pass. And what that does is it opens your back. Saliba has that ability. I remember I mentioned something to you when after watching him play in Orlando, that once he gives a pass to a teammate, the first thing he does is to take 2 steps backwards to create space, both for himself and for the person that has the ball. If he can't go forward, bring it back to me. I have enough space to deal with it. So all these little things I watch and I've seen in him and know that for me, this little stuff are the difference between him and Gabriel. Gabriel as a defender is solid, but all these other little aspects or attributes is what makes you a top. Like when we talk about Thiago Silva, it's stuff like that. Then I'll go to Zinchenko. People talk every time about his defensive ability. The team is set up to use his attributes going forward. And I cannot count how many times his ingenuity with technical ability in terms of passes, breaking lines with passes, gave Arsenal goals or won us games or gave us huge control, in games. I will also take Odegaard. For a midfielder who scores 15 goals this season and 7 as he contributes 22 goals in a season, I don't think you can go wrong with rating him and talking about his impact on the season. His ability to use come out in tight spaces with successful passes and dribbles. He was gliding past opponents like they were not there, not making people in Arsenal's 18-yard box. These are things that you don't see. The only thing that someone like Odegaard does to you is to bring back the memory of Sadi Cazorla to you as an Arsenal fan. And that only gives you joy. The name Cazorla, of course, gives you joy as an Arsenal fan anytime you hear it. Then, like you rightly said, another player that I would also rate his impact is Gabriel Martinelli. The reason why I would choose Martinelli ahead Saka is because this season, not just with his goals, not just with his pressure on opponents, but his defensive contributions in games when we were suffering. This young man sometimes took it personal to make sure that we don't concede goals after doing his damage, going forward. So these are the players for me that went above and beyond their impact. I mean, Gabriel Jesus, when he was out for 3 months, I'm not in any way underrating his performance this season, but we still managed to win games. We won games. We did stuff while he was away. But there are these other players I have mentioned. There are some of the things that they brought into our game this season. We are things that we could not replicate when they are not there. When Zinchenko is not there, that inverted left back is non-existent. When Martinelli is not there, the drive that he gives us, the stubbornness, the pressure he puts on opponents, the defensive ability we get from that flank, no other player gives it to us when he's not there. So that's why I've chosen these players as the impactful players for Arsenal this season. So guys, watch out for the player ratings. We'll be doing that in another episode. We'll in-depth look at every player, especially the first regular starting 11 for the team for the season. We're going to look at them player by player, analyze the way they played for the season, and rate them out of 10 in terms of their performance. Before we go further, don't forget, subscribe if you have not done so far. Share and like this video. This week, we're going to preview the UEFA Champions League finals between Man City and Inter Milan. This one promises to be an epic game. We'll bring you reaction to press conferences from both sides, their coaches and the players, what they have said about the game, and what we expect to happen in that match coming up on Saturday. After the Champions League finals, we'll be having the fan fiesta, where fans of big clubs in Europe, Arsenal, Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Barca, Bayern, name it. We'll be on this show live, and we'll be discussing, just like what we did for Arsenal, the entire European top leagues, how we panned out this season, what moments, players, coaches, teams that caught our eye. Will be on that show, be choosing the team of the season in Europe. We probably will also choose the team of the EPL for the season, the managers of the season and player of the season. So look out for those videos. They'll be dropping on the channel the next coming days. And don't forget to stay tuned as well and look out for content that will be dropping from Arsenal preseason games, the one in New York against Man United, the game against Barca that will be played in LA will be there live. We say, this is not just an Arsenal channel. We'll also be bringing content for Man United fans. They have a game with Real Madrid in Houston. We'll be bringing content from that game as well. Thank you for watching and staying with us in this channel. Continue to subscribe and like our videos. And we hope to see you next time. Ugum.
Thank you, guys. I look forward to seeing you next time. Please, like Reggie said, share, subscribe, and please, we really appreciate your support.
Okay, guys. See you next time. Bye for now.